And now, the Wad Fam Chalk Pod.
Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
I'm Andrew Sabo.
And we are back this week talking about episode 496, Exceptional Circumstances.
Like Mitch still being alive.
Yes, it's very exceptional. This is the first episode in the X quadrilogy.
What?
The last four episodes
exceptional.
of the Novacom Saga all start with EX.
Was it Exceptional Circumstances, something exactly as planned?
Exactly as planned. Exit is
yeah.
the final.
Isn't it Exit Bay or an Exit Part, like Exit A and Exit B? Or...
Nope, it's just Exit.
Oh, it's just Exit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what... I can't remember what the other one is.
Is there four?
There's four. The final four episodes of Novacom are all
Here, I can look this
EX.
up.
It's exactly as planned. Exit, Exceptional Circumstances, and...
Expect the worst.
Expect the worst.
Which, Exceptional Circumstance, Expect the worst, exactly as planned, Exit.
Yeah.
There you go.
So yeah, we're in the X quadrilogy. It's like Plan B all over again.
It really is.
You doing okay there, Andrew?
I've told you I'm tired. I told you. Just roll the promo, please. Dear
just
God.
playing the promo.
On the next Adventures in Odyssey, the circumstances are exceptional. Kidnapping, espionage, and people turning up where you wouldn't expect. But I can't tell you too much, because if I did, I'd have to, well, you know, give up my National Geographic membership. Just tune in for an exceptional half hour next time on Adventures in Odyssey.
What?
So
What?
he goes British accent this one.
And it sounds spy-y, and then he says
Right.
National Geographic, so I'm like, is he on a safari?
Yeah.
I'm obviously
Instead
it's
of
like,
saying he's not gonna kill you, he says he's gonna give up. He'd have to give up his subscription to National. Maybe there's a joke I'm not getting because I'm young.
Was there some
but-
topical bit where it was like you can't be a murderer and be subscribed to National Geographic? Or maybe there was a local thing where National Geographic was pulling their magazines out of prisons or something.
I don't know, but also calling out National Geographic is a weird thing too.
Bold move.
Yeah.
First Dairy Queen, now National Geographic.
Yep.
We're really focus on the families picking their battles, but they are standing by them.
Yep.
Yeah, so the episode starts with Mitch and Connie talking with the weird...
This is so garbled. It's such a mess.
Technologically, yeah.
It's just a huge mess.
So here's the thing. So Connie's back in Odyssey.
Yes. I don't know for sure if she is in this scene. She is later.
No, because she said she was thinking about... I was thinking about it the whole ride back.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Which is weird, because my note is, she didn't message him right away when she found out he was alive? What?
No, she went out to dinner, then hung out with Rachel for as long as she was there.
Yeah.
Drove back to Portsmouth, flew back to Chicago, drove to Odyssey.
And then decided to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Not only that, she's doing it on the computer at Wit's End.
Yes. Well, I mean, maybe she doesn't have a computer at her house. Does Connie live on her
Probably.
own? I thought she lived with her mom.
I think she still lives with June.
Don't you mean Mrs. Kendall?
This will never get old.
This is Mrs. Kendall for you, young man.
So, yeah. Visiting his grave one day, emailing him the next. However, this is for sure instant messenger.
Yes.
But...
There's voice transmission.
Okay, so we start out with Mitch's doing the Aram voice. So it's Bob Luttrell doing his Aram talking voice. And then Connie's like, yeah, how do I even know it's you? And he switches to Mitch's voice.
Yeah. What?
So when it's just Aram, you can be like, oh, okay, like it's some sort of it sounds garbled.
Yeah.
Garbled. It doesn't sound like I never thought
It'd be
Aram,
like if you had Siri read you something.
Right. I never felt like Aram was Mitch masking his voice. I always assumed it
was just a voice to text thing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It was a built-in voice to text. But then he is very much we
talking.
hear the transition between his voices.
Yeah.
But Connie is typing out every answer.
Yes.
Her keys are clacking very loudly.
Yes.
But she's also saying it out loud, what she's writing, so that we as the audience can hear it.
Yes.
So why aren't they just on a call?
I don't know.
It's so weird.
Yeah, I don't understand why they would do that.
Mitch Mitch isn't calling, he's typing stuff out, and then a voice that sounds like his is reading it.
I think he must be talking while he's typing, because I imagine he has to do the same thing that Connie's doing.
Yeah, I don't know. I could buy it as that, like, the classic, film trope wherein if you're, like, reading a letter from someone, it reads in their voice.
Yeah.
If not for the fact that Connie has him decode his voice.
Yes.
Like, this could have totally been them we could have been cutting back and forth between him and wherever witness protection is and Connie and Odyssey saying what they're typing.
Yeah.
Or they could just have a freaking call.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
I don't understand.
So
you
weird.
Type it and you talk while you type it, but why would you type it if you're talking it?
Yeah.
And by that I mean speaking it.
Right.
That's words.
But
nonetheless, we get some cute Mitch.
We have to get past it because
we gotta move past because there's too much cute Mitch.
Yeah, and I'm also excited to hear Mitch's voice because the Aram voice is not my favorite.
No, it's not. It's
especially not for the conversations they're having.
The intimacy that's implied. So basically, like, she's like, "How do I know this you?" And then she's like, what was I wearing on your first date? And he's like, I don't remember. And then he's like,
we got spaghetti. You dropped a meatball in your lap, pretended I didn't notice. She's like, you can forget that part.
Yeah.
It's all very cute.
And then she says something like, and then she says under her breath, okay, don't melt, Connie, don't melt. Which is so sweet. And then something about what did you cook for me the first time that I had dinner at your house or something like that?
Like, I never cooked dinner, but if I did, it would be mac and cheese, as established. Like, it's
that's
so
the only thing
good.
He knows how to cook. Yeah, it's really good.
He just has a house full of mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, Mitch, it is you. Like, I'm so glad to hear from you. And then he's just unplugged, pretty much.
Yeah. He's unplugged, and then we hear Borland talking to him about witness protection. So this is because we didn't actually get that confirmation last episode. We just knew he's alive. Yeah. Borland has put him into witness protection.
Yeah.
So we have that established.
Mm-hmm.
And
we also it's clarified that he was kidnapped. So he was kidnapped by the FBI.
He wasn't a part of this whole setup.
Yeah.
Like, they orchestrated everything kind of without his knowledge.
Well, we were talking about what actually happened when the audio was of him dying but not dying.
Yeah.
Like, you can kind of now imagine it as a kidnapping.
Yeah, exactly. When there's that break-in at his place, that's the FBI kidnapping him. The other thing that's just kind of, I don't know, that's then weird is that first meeting where Connie and Wit are first meeting with Borland.
Yeah.
Way back, and he starts accusing Mitch of working with Charles and Stone.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, he didn't know at that point.
He did. This is after Mitch is dead that they're having that interview, and he kidnapped Mitch.
Yeah.
Mitch's death is just Mitch being kidnapped by Borland. So Borland knows exactly that Mitch is a good guy and has him in custody, and he's putting people who are close to him and think he's dead. He's making them think that he's a bad guy? What are you doing?
Borland's a jerk.
Borland
is a big old butthead.
It's them really, really, really trying to... I mean, same thing with Charles being evil. It's them really trying to sell us on this thing so that the twist is more impactful, but then as you're going back, you're like,
wait, why?
Doing?
I don't understand.
What are you doing, man?
Yeah. It is, yeah. Why would you do that, Borland? That's so mean. And so then we get this little bit from Borland about Justine also being kidnapped. Or not kidnapped, but Justine also working with the FBI and then not cooperating, and so it's her fault she's dead.
Yeah,
what
Borland's
the heck, Borland?
A jerk
I hate
again.
You, Borland. You're the worst.
So bad.
Big old duty head.
But yeah, he's just mad at Mitch for, communicating with the outside world, which kind of fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, you're in the witness protection
Right.
program. He's like, well, it feels like I'm in prison or something like that, which, well, whatever.
Yeah.
I get that, Mitch, but also...
Yeah, but also, your own good, they're good.
We're in the bit of something very intense.
So we find out that Mitch has been going over the files from Arthur Dent's disc.
Yes.
And also the intercepted transmissions that Aram got and that sort of stuff.
And he said, like, what is gobbledygook?
Yeah.
Excellent use of the word gobbledygook.
Yeah.
Worth noting.
The
Also,
Harry Potter goblin language.
Yeah.
That's canon.
It is.
But it's a weird thing of like, does the FBI not have better computer people than Mitch?
Like, I guess. I mean, considering what Mitch was able to do, I guess.
Like,
I don't know.
yeah.
Him being able to be omnipresent and just be anywhere.
Yeah, but they also, like, I don't know, the FBI also tracked him down and figured it all out and everything. It's just weird that he's the guy who's on this case.
Yeah.
But yeah, he mentions, though, that the stuff that he's been able to decipher just looks like a shopping list.
Yeah. Greasley chips, birdhouses, Claremont. I can't make heads or tails of it.
Yeah, it's Fizzy-Cola, Triumphant, Greasley chips, birdhouses, and then he mentions and references to Claremont and launch date.
Yes, and a launch date, which also that seems suspicious.
Yeah,
at least
launch date definitely seems
but they kind of blow
suspicious. But also, Triumphant and Claremont are weird. So yeah, so that list gives us maybe some foreshadowing, and also hits on a obvious direct tie between
last episode.
Yeah, the stuff that the kids discovered
An
last
actual
episode.
shopping list.
Yeah.
And then
oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
No, you got this.
I was gonna cut to the next scene.
Oh no, because before we cut, we have them trashing Dent.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like,
oh my gosh, I forgot, yeah.
He's not exactly lucid, a less reliable source than Mr. Potato Head. Like, dude, the guy's been through some crap.
He was literally electrocuted mostly to death.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Why are they so...
needlessly mean.
Yeah. So, then we're jumping back to Whit and Connie. Mm-hmm. Or no, this isn't Whit and Connie. This is Calix and Mandy, Candy, showing up to talk to Whit, but Whit's
not there.
Off at a meeting about Whit's in Connellsville. He's meeting with the board. Yeah. And so they're just filling in Connie.
About everything I found out last episode, pretty much, with all the shopping lists and stuff.
Yep.
Which is important, as we find out later. And then...
then we cut to
Tom and Agnes.
Tom is driving Agnes home from Hillingdale.
Of course.
That happened
really fast.
No. It happened 2 episodes ago. They literally, at the end of Box of Miracles, Whit's going to visit Dent. Tom is leaving Tom is there to take Agnes home.
Huh. Maybe she had to go for treatment or something back. I don't know.
I think the timeline's just a little screwy here because we're trying to do so much so quick.
Yeah.
And we just didn't have time for Tom in the last episode.
Yeah.
I imagine a lot of this stuff, especially at this point in the series, is not being recorded episode to episode. It's being recorded all at once. We're doing this whole arc and we're doing that whole arc. So probably, and then we're just cutting it together in the most logical way.
In post-production, yeah.
So it's probably just they didn't have time for this last episode, but it's a funny thing where so Connie's whole journey to Maine and back, Tom has just been driving Agnes home that whole time.
Actually incredibly far away. It is in the northernmost part of Canada.
Yeah.
He's been driving day and night, and he's been popping Adderall like it's Pez.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah, I just like that idea, but
that's so good. That is, oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get this really adorable
it's definitely
scene.
not like they went back to Hillingdale because this is for sure Agnes's first time home.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe Tom wasn't able to take her home last time, but probably it was just a weird production thing.
That's my guess.
And then old people adorableness.
Yeah, they're so cute, and he's like, I'm gonna carry you across the threshold like I did, was it 26 years ago? Which, they must not have been married for that long.
I didn't take note of how many years. Dang it, I should have.
It was only like 20-something. I think it was 26. Like, wow. They are both very old. Like, they're comfortably in their 70s?
Yeah, but this is a Agnes is remarried.
Yes.
I don't think Tom is.
No.
But
they both, but Timmy died how long ago?
Right. That's the thing is Timothy already dead when Odyssey starts, or does he die in early episodes?
No, he's dead when Odyssey starts.
Right.
I
think
maybe.
so. And he's like, what, 10 or so when he dies? Like he's...
Yeah, he's very young.
Yeah.
Oh, did they have a kid before they got married?
They didn't.
No, there's no way.
But also, yeah, Odyssey timeline stuff is always weird.
Why wouldn't they just make it a couple more years than 26? What? Like, even if they had made it 36 or 46, I'd be like, cool, whatever. That makes sense. My parents had been married for 26 years, and both of them are 50. And neither of these people are 50.
Today is my parents' 28th wedding anniversary.
Yeah, there you go. Is that why they're not here?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
All right, and so then...
And he throws out his back. And he's like, oh, there it went.
Yep. That'll be some physical therapy, whatever.
And, yeah, he says nothing a hot pad and a few weeks of physical therapy can't do. It's like, oh. Yep. Oh, you're so adorable.
Yeah, they are.
They have really just... you can't really get into everything that they say, but there's so much good back and forth.
Yeah, she's very energetic and is now talking about... she wants to go on... She's like, let's go on a hike.
Yeah, let's go on a hike, which also he just threw out his back, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's a...
Something about, like, the trail's overgrown.
Yeah. There's this intentional thing with her where she's being played very, like, childlike.
Yeah.
Presumably just because she has been, like, has had very little...
interaction, really.
Well, yeah, has been very... Yeah, just siloed off for years. So now she's all excited to live again.
Yeah. Well, and coming back to this place that she kind of built a life for herself and stuff, like... Yeah. Very, very special, very intimate kind of moment. And then it cuts to Jason and Whit at home.
Yeah, so Whit shows up at his house, not expecting Jason to be there. Jason says Connie was hogging the computer, so I'm here.
Maybe he doesn't expect him to be there because he doesn't live there.
Yeah, he's presumably staying with Whit, though.
Yes, yeah.
Like, for sure.
And then Whit says, like, the board's selling in the shop, and, like, they pretty much folded. What?
It's such a weird, casual, just blown past moment. Where
I guess
he's
I
like,
have my own shop again.
He's like, I guess I have my own shop again. And it's like, all right.
I feel like this is a big deal.
Yeah.
I have another place to run, and I couldn't do the one very well for a while.
Yeah. Shoot. Does he still have Wits End in Connellsville? Like, current in Odyssey? Does it...
I don't think it ever goes away.
I don't think it ever does.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah. Okay, so from our research, we have found that it is mentioned with very sparing... Like, it's mentioned very little after this series, which...
It's not even mentioned that much in this series.
Yeah, and now we know he has his own place. Like, this is 100% his.
Yeah.
And he apparently paid a good amount of money for it.
Yep, but he's made of money. But he can still fit through, or he can still go to heaven.
Yes.
Rich man, camel, something there.
There's something there. There's a bit there somewhere.
There's an episode there.
There's probably several.
How much do you make? Not nearly enough.
No. Wait, when is that?
There's an episode in which they're all caught up on the hard for rich man to get to heaven. Then they call up the encyclopedia company.
Yeah.
Like,
how much do you make?
How much does Whit make? How much do you make? Not nearly enough.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
My Odyssey literacy is too much.
I'm impressed.
So they
Board's selling the shop to Whit.
Right.
And Jason's been decoding the disc.
Yes.
That,
he's doing the same work Mitch is.
Yes, exactly.
But he comes across something about Duncan Mathis.
Which is a new name.
Whit Googles it and finds out that he's a guy who helped Eugene with radio research in Connellsville, and he pulls up an address, and so Jason's going to go visit.
Yeah.
And then we're back with Tom and Agnes.
Yeah, and so they're back on the trail, and they're talking about the tower, and basically Tom catches Agnes up as to like why it was put there, and like they help pay for the bills, and they also developed the it's owned by Novacom, and Novacom developed the treatment that helped you so much, and she's like, well, I don't like it and whatever. And
two things I noted. One is just that that Novacom's leasing the land, which I don't think we previously we were iffy on, because they were given the option to buy or lease, and they did lease. So that's just something that I personally found interesting that literally no one should care about.
Fair enough.
And then also, Tom spots the remains of a campfire.
Yes, I was going to say that, yeah.
But Agnes says, don't bother.
He's like, oh, them kids again.
Yep.
And then, and then she's like, no, just stay here and like watch the sunset with me, which is really sweet and very, It's a really good moment, and you can really tell that like Tom is kind of like a more energized person when he's around Agnes again. Like, it's really, I don't know. It's really nice to see him like that, I guess. And then it just kind of cuts back to Jason being at Duncan Mathis's house, right?
Yeah. Well, so Duncan Mathis is in like an apartment kind of thing.
It's like assisted living, presumably.
Right. Yeah. Basically. And so Jason's kind of yelling through the door to him, and then mentions his name, and the guy's like, oh wait, are you related to John Whitaker?
Yeah.
And he's like, yep. And he's like, okay, you can come in.
Which he also calls him John Whitaker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah.
And so in just a moment of like, I guess we have to establish things for the audio drama, but this is so not tactful. Jason opens the door, enters, and immediately apologizes for the fact that Duncan is in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, sorry, I didn't realize you... And it's just...
And he's like, we're in a wheelchair, and I'm like, wait, why?
Right,
why?
What did that have any bearing on? Like, yeah, it's just one of those things, you don't call attention to that when you first meet someone.
Unless maybe...
If he would have said something that would have been, you know, if he had said something wrong,
or if he made like a joke about not being able to get the door or something like that,
right? And then realized it, I could see him being mad, but apropos of nothing, he just says, "Oh, sorry."
And also,
and it's just establishing us, the listeners, that this guy is in a wheelchair,
which we could have found out later.
Yeah,
which we could have found out later,
and we do find out later. It's just I'm mad.
The only
about
thing
it.
I could see is maybe he like does a dramatic double take or something like that, and has incredibly poor social skills, which we did kind of establish that he's not great at certain aspects, particularly flirting. And so maybe that was it, and like he was apologizing for a reaction that we don't see. But yeah, it's whatever. Ugh.
Yeah.
Let's call attention to the wheelchair in the room.
Yeah. And then Duncan brings up that he had heard Whit on the radio.
Yeah.
And then had his sister write them a letter, which Jason said they never received.
Yeah. And basically what Whit was saying about everything, you know, not being tested and being worried, like that we don't know enough about this technology. He's like, he's completely right. And then this is why. And
so something good did come from the Crying Brian Dern Show.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yep, it did. Because Whit's always right.
And so what else? Oh, so he then kind of gets into his thing. So
his relationship.
Yeah. He worked on this research with Eugene, the radio waves to brainwaves, brainwaves to radio waves, actually.
And then he's basically was their guinea pig, right?
Yeah. and they got to a point in the research where he was able to move the cursor without thinking about it.
Yeah.
Then Eugene ran away for a family emergency.
AKA.
So it's right, which is Armitage dying. So it's interesting. We're getting a little bit of timeline stuff here that we were iffy on before. So they have this breakthrough. Eugene leaves. While he's gone, the dean is brought into the loop, and then scientists from Chicago, presumably working for Andromeda, show up and are trying to do the opposite. So turn radio waves into brain waves rather than brain waves into radio waves.
Like, they don't care about the handicapped.
Yeah.
Which stinks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why couldn't they do both? Mind control and also help handicapped people.
And then Eugene comes back, finds all this out, steals the research, goes completely AWOL. Yeah. And mails the package to Jason.
And now we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
Jason is decoding the package.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we get a lot of like, this is a big plot key as far as what this research is about. We've heard a little bit about the study of like the title is the study of conversion of brain waves to radio waves before, but now we know exactly why. Now we know why Eugene was doing it. Now we know what this fits into the whole like Novacom situation.
Yep.
And ties up a lot, and then the door opens and Monica walks in.
Yeah.
Because Monica is Duncan's sister.
So freaking good.
Yeah.
And then we electronic score cut.
Yeah.
And then we just come back in on the same scene.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's exactly
it. There's a score cut for commercial. Yeah. And then it comes back in on the same scene. In like a very like cartoon animated way. Yeah. Where like they do the dun. Right. And they cut away and then they come back in doing like a variation of the lines they just said.
Yeah.
Where it's like kind of a continuation and kind of a recap.
You're Duncan's sister? Monica.
And Monica does this Melissa Disney is doing an incredible job with the voice acting.
Yeah, she does such a good job.
She is just sounding so frustrated
and very like raw.
Yeah. Jason's obviously crazy confused and just like
what's going on,
thrown for a loop. And then
Monica takes Jason outside.
Yeah, and Duncan has a fantastic line where kind of as they're walking out, he hollers, "She's just taking you outside because she thinks I'll shoot down all of her arguments, which I will."
Yeah,
and it's just
so
good. It's a perfect encapsulation of like a sibling relationship.
Yeah,
like it just rings so true.
You're just
as like
you can't lose to me.
Yeah,
which you will.
It's really
so
really
good.
fun.
It is good, and it's like, and it's a good balance of like, so we get this genuine like sibling relationship, and then we follow that up by Monica expounding upon a lot of what we've learned before about her. Yep. And so it just gives us some very quickly like a pretty good foundation for what we're about to learn about her.
Yeah,
and that's that Monica Duncan doesn't know that Monica pulled guns on people, has worked for Novacom, and is doing all this stuff, or how much he knows,
right?
Yeah, but he doesn't know about any of the illegal stuff.
No, I don't think he knows about any of it because he's so anti-Novacom.
Yeah, and then Jason calls her out on it. It's like, like this isn't the answer. Like, how you can't do this to him. Like, he knows that this isn't gonna work. Like, things are gonna. This isn't actually helping him. Or this isn't the way to help him, and Monica's like, it's my fault that he's paralyzed.
Yeah, she just kind of breaks down.
Yeah.
And says that.
And it's so, like,
it's so good to have Monica's character fleshed out like this.
Yeah, because she very easily couldn't have.
Right, she could have been like Charles and just been a straight up villain, but they add a level of depth here that I genuinely appreciate.
Well, and the transition of setting is really good because you can totally imagine like you have this small house or whatever, and then they're like now they're in the front porch or whatever, like the front yard.
I picture like a room and they're now in the hallway. Either way,
okay. Because maybe I heard a door or something like that. For some reason, I thought they were outside.
I mean, I think the door could be between the room and the hallway.
That would also make sense.
Like I'm thinking that he has like an apartment basically, and they're now outside of it. Not that this is like a house and they're on the porch, but it doesn't really matter what's in our minds.
But it's very good in that like it creates the fact that you and I both imagined completely different things, but we both got the same idea of this immersive, like very relatable situation where it's like we need to go someplace private to talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
And so Monica's it's Duncan's fault. I'm sorry, it's Monica's fault that Duncan's paralyzed. Kind of blow past there was a diving accident.
Yeah.
In a pool? In a deep sea diving?
I don't know.
High dive? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
Is this Odyssey, he's subtly poking at the no diving signs on pools that nobody follows?
I don't know. He is a quadriplegic. We didn't hit on that, but they mention it when they're talking about the research, because the whole reason he was able to that he was willing to agree to be experimented on is he was like, well,
I want to get my life back.
Right. Well, what do I have to lose, basically?
Yeah. It's something like he hasn't fed himself in X amount of years.
Yeah.
And then Jason kind of counters that by saying, like, you can't, like, that doesn't justify, like, working for Novacom. Like, Novacom is not what you want them to be. Like, go to Charles, ask him about what this box really is. Like,
yeah, she's so desperate
to make things right that she's willing to do pretty much anything.
That she's willing to do pretty much anything, and that she has blinders on and is kind of willfully ignorant of the bad aspects of what's going on.
Yeah, and sees, means justifying the end.
It's ends justifying the means, buddy.
Means, is that the phrase?
The ends justify the means? No, it is the means justify the... Wait.
I think it goes both ways.
The ends justify...
No,
it is the ends justify the means. The means do not justify the ends.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
I said it backwards. That makes more sense.
All right.
We're doing great. We got this.
And then we cut away to Whit dropping by the Rileys.
Yeah.
He's been on the phone with Jason, gotten that information and is now kind of there to talk about Agnes. And
we didn't mention, Duncan tells us that the effects of the box don't last,
and in fact make things worse
than what they were before. So they get better, and then they get much worse than they were before, which of course they do. Thanks, Focus on the Family.
It is. It's some of the.
But I guess it makes sense in that, like, well, one, the alternative is mind control, which I figured was the way things were going, but doesn't appear to be. Kind of is, kind of isn't.
Well, so it seems... So the technology of the medical Nova box is that they are replacing brain waves that aren't working with radio waves.
Yes.
Whereas the research Duncan was doing was being able to control things with
your mind.
With your mind.
Using brain waves to radio waves.
Right. And he talks about... Jason's kind of like, why aren't you using this now? And he said, that's when he says, because the effects don't last. But that sounds like that would be true even of their original research, separate from all this crazy stuff that Novacom's doing with it.
Yeah. Okay, so then Whit's at Tom's trying to pass on this information, like, see, I was right, but that's not really how he approaches it. Whit's actually pretty good in this. He's better than he was.
Better than the last episode where he's making decisions for Tom. However, he's not at all delicate. He doesn't seem sympathetic to the fact that this is such a big deal for Tom.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm mad at Whit or if I'm mad at Focus on the Family for making Tom the bad guy here.
They don't... Whit doesn't show any sympathy to be like...
Listen, I understand.
Like, I realize this is good. Like, this is a big deal and this is important to you, but like, we need to assess things. He's basically just like ignores all of the good and is just like, look, this is going to be bad. And
we don't get an idea that he's happy for him, but it's just you can't do this.
Yeah. And so it's a rough point in their friendship.
Yeah,
like it's a genuinely like heartbreaking scene because it's Tom being like no, like, I'm not listening to you, Whit. And yeah, I think if Whit had eased into this, if he hadn't come down so hard
I would say
all
that
the time about this stuff, like, maybe he would have been able to kind of get through to Tom here, but he's just not doing it in a good way.
Yeah, I think that Whit, and he kind of realizes that he's not making any progress. Like, after Tom's like I have my Agnes back. Like, you can't take that away from me. Like, you have no idea how long I wanted this, and I never had it. Yeah. And so, like, and Whit's just kind of like, okay, well, whatever. I'll leave. Like, I understand. And then he leaves. And it's really, really rough to hear because you don't want to root against, like, I don't want, like, Tom is right to feel the way that he does, and then he says the line about, like, well, what does Jason know about this? And then it's just kind of like, they do write his dialogue to, he's putting on the same blinders as Monica in the idea that he's kind of overlooking how they're getting this result, and Whit's the only one that's questioning why. But then we have the problem is Whit's questioning is not reflective of what I want it to be.
Yeah, it's tough.
It is frustrating, that's for sure.
And yeah, it's not just like my frustration at these characters, but it's like I get where both of them are at. Mm-hmm. And they're also such good friends for so long that it's just hard.
Yeah, it is really hard because Whit, and I would say that, like, I would be quick to be angry at Whit, but he does just kind of, like, back off and leave.
Yeah.
He's not right to do necessarily, or to say it how he did, but he does kind of realize that it's a lost cause, and I think he definitely does care about him. And Tom even says that. He's like, I don't doubt that you have good intentions, but you can't take this away from me. Like, I haven't had this before, and I need this.
Yeah.
There's kind of a desperation from Tom. And then it cuts back to Connie and
a comedy scene.
Yeah. Of course.
It's a weird cut, but Nick's there, so of course it's a comedy scene.
Yeah.
It's also crazy that he's here just for in this episode just for like a cameo appearance.
Pretty much. He just walks in on Connie, and
right,
Connie's like,
he's such a snoop.
Don't come in.
She freaks out.
Connie, what are you looking at on the Wits End computers?
Yeah, and she's trying to email Mitch, but it's not going through.
Yeah.
She's getting like message rejected. Then she gets an IM with the sound, so that comes through, and Mitch is like, oh, it looks like you got an instant message.
Nick. You said Mitch.
Oh, so Nick's like, oh, it looks like you got an instant message, which is, so now we're instant messaging.
Of course. That's what it is. Skype instant message, dragon speak shenanigans.
Yeah, and it's from Sparky the Happy Giraffe,
which is
hilarious. And Nick's like, hey, Whit doesn't want us to do do that sort of thing on these computers. Like, let me just delete the message, whatever. And Kylie's like, oh, how bad could it be? He's a happy giraffe. I'm just gonna see what he wants.
Yeah, he's a giraffe. He's happy. His name is Sparky.
And so Mitch is just kind of like, Nick is just kind of like, weird, and walks out. What?
So at least he didn't call him Jay.
Yeah, I'm not you.
Exactly.
I have a note that just says, new name, same sound.
Exactly. Really mixing things up. Because and then she then talks to, we find out it's Mitch, that is Sparky the Happy Giraffe.
Yeah, he took my advice from the last episode where I was like, why are you using the Arab screen name?
Yeah, he's used the same, he switches up his screen name. Doesn't change his sound though, because how could you do that?
Right.
Unless it's just like a notification thing that's default. You can't switch it. But
who knows? Who cares? Except that previously Connie recognized it as specifically Aram.
An Aram sound, yeah.
But anyways,
unless they only ever instant message one person and that person is Aram.
True. And then Connie fills in Mitch about the stuff the kids were telling her about earlier.
Which is the research that they had last episode.
Yeah. And then we cut to another heartbreaking scene.
Yeah.
Wherein Agnes has set a spot for Timmy at the dinner table. And Tom's kind of like, kind of pushes her on it, and then she's like, oh, of course not.
Well, no, the worst thing is, so he comes in, they're setting the table, or she tells him what she's made, and she's like, there's an extra plate here, and then she's like, Timmy will be starving.
The food is great.
Do you have it written down?
It's fried chicken, mashed potatoes, cream corn, gravy.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And cream corn, I'm pretty sure that's yeah. It's so good. It's so good. And then she's like, well, why'd you set the extra plate? And she's like, well, Timmy will be starving when he comes home from softball practice.
Yeah.
Which, why doesn't he play baseball? But whatever. Just deflated.
Yeah.
Completely deflated.
And Tom's kind of like questioning about it. And then Agnes is like, oh, right. Like, I realize he's not coming home.
No, I know. And the way that she says it is somebody that's like, I know Timmy is dead.
Right.
And kind of like in the same way that, like, if you were talking about somebody that you, like, the thing that I can relate it to the most easily is, like, if I'm talking to my therapist and I'm like, I know that this is true, but I don't feel it at all times, and so therefore this happens.
Yes.
And so you kind of get that idea from her where it's like, I know in my head, but my reality was saying that Timmy was coming home.
Yep.
And it's just like, oh.
And then she just says, I don't want to go back.
Yeah, and then
Tom,
she just cried.
I don't want to go back. And that's what we end on.
And then we get freaking Chris's wrap up about not trusting people. Don't put your hope in the wrong place.
Her favorite theme.
Yeah, don't trust people. Don't do that.
Yeah.
You should have trusted God because there's no way that you could have technology that could actually help your sickly wife without it being some strings attached. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Ay, ay, ay. And it's all about just like putting false hope. It's about putting hope in false gods and like false gospels. They're like, oh no. Yeah. And it doesn't seem like it's one of those like, well, we're just trying to put a moral on the end of it. It's like, this is what we want you to take away from the series.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's just, it's a heartbreaking note to end on. And it's played in a way that I think is good. That's not like this real sharp turn like we had with Dent.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't feel like it's really vindicating Wit.
Yeah.
In the same way that it could.
Yeah.
Because it's just played as such this like tender moment.
Yeah, it is played as a tender moment. And Tom says it in the way that like he says like, oh, it's just a relapse, that's all. And like, which is definitely a good way of kind of covering it up and like making it, I guess, less intense and kind of masking the fact that what Wit is saying is kind of beginning to come true and she is deteriorating, and that is depressing as heck.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go home and cry for a while now.
It's a sad note to end on.
It really is.
But yeah, we're at
overall thoughts from the episode, Dylan.
I like the Connie Mitch stuff. I like the Tom Agnes stuff. I like the stuff with Duncan and Monica. Like it's a lot of really strong story points.
Yeah. Well, this is really like, I mean, I don't know what you would call the official climax of this series, like episode wise, but it's probably it's not this, but it's before it. Like this is the pinnacle of the like the literary building action. Yeah,
we're coming to the climax. But yeah, I don't have strong thoughts, deep analysis, anything. It's a plot episode, but it's a plot episode that also has a strong emotional base, which I thoroughly appreciate.
Yeah, and we get really good character fleshing out from Agnes and Monica, and we get Duncan Mathis, who's also really cool, and all these separate plot lines are finally converging into one thing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, literally just even our recap of this episode, we have touched on everything that has been discussed.
Yeah, basically.
Much.
Yep.
Except for Aubrey.
Right, except for Aubrey and Bernard.
Yeah.
But basically everything else is being hit on.
Yeah.
So yeah. that's the episode.
I don't have anything to promote.
You're plug free. Yeah. So.
No, I'm plugged in.
Yeah. So I do not have anything to plug.
All right, and we'll see you next time with Expect the Worst.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
WadFam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Co-op. This show is a fan podcast and has no official affiliation with Adventures in Odyssey or Focus on the Family. As such, the copyright is ours under Creative Commons. Follow the podcast at WadFamChalkPod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. Episode 25, Exceptional Circumstances, was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Acebo, and edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverstick, hoping you'll join us next time for more of the WadFam Chalk Pod.